Factoring quadratics. Okay, so quadratic equations look like this, right? Here's the standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, if you see a square, if one of the x's has a square, you know it's a quadratic equation. Okay, so factoring and solving are almost very similar. You can, now solving would be one more step after factoring. So I'm going to show you how to factor. And then once factoring becomes easier, then solving quadratic equations will be a piece of cake. Okay, so factoring quadratics. Okay, there's two things we have to remember with factoring quadratics. And I'm gonna just say this is intro to factoring. It's very basic, is the simplest form of factoring. Okay, but you can use this type of factoring to do a little bit more advanced factoring. So this is remembering target product, target sum, like you see here, is very important when it comes to factoring. Okay, so what does target product and target sum mean? And I wrote these letters. Okay, so target product, I have A times C, and then I have a B here. Okay, that's why I wrote the standard form. Okay, now when I say A, I don't mean x squared. X squared is the variable. A is the coefficient. So it's the number in front of the x squared. So in this case, I'm gonna write it out here. For our problem here, write A, B, and C. So I'm gonna list these. A, for the problem that we're gonna factor today, is 1. B is a positive 2. And this also would be a positive. It's important to keep in mind the sign that it carries. And C would be a negative 63. So A, B, and C. Now that we know that, we can do target product, target sum. So the first thing to do is the target product. I take a look at my example here, or my quadratic equation. I say, well, A times C, which is 1 times a negative 63. So I'm gonna write that target product here. So 1 times a negative 63 would be negative 63, okay? I'm gonna find factors, list of factors of 63, okay? Now, I'm gonna list them off. Of course, you have 1 and 63, and we'll worry about these signs later, okay? So 1 times 63, we have, the only other one I can remember is 9 times 7, which will work here, okay? The hardest part in factoring would be this little section, to try to find, yes, it has to meet two conditions. So target product, target sum, my sum, so I'm gonna write the sum out here, which will be B. I'm just gonna write it here to the side, just so I can make note of it, okay? So B is a positive 2. Now, one of these factors is gonna have to, one of the pairs is gonna have to have a negative, because 1 times 63 is a positive 63, but I have a negative. So one of them is gonna carry a negative. Now, what I have to see is Okay, what multiplies to give me 63, negative 63? But also, if I were to add these numbers, will give me my target sum. And that's where this vocabulary comes from. Okay, my target product. So I gotta find factors that multiply to give me my target product, which is A times C. And they also have to add up to give me my target sum. Now, let's say -1 times 63 equals negative 63. But if I were to add these, it would equal 62, which is not even close. If I were to change this negative, because 1 times a negative 63 also equals negative 63. 1 plus a negative, so 1 minus 63 will equal negative 62, which is not even close. So this pair would not work. Let's see if this one works. Okay, let's say -9 times 7 gives me negative 63. -9 plus 7 gives me a -2. Oh, that's a lot closer. -2, but I want a positive. So what I'm gonna do is change the sign here. Give the negative to the 7. So 9 times -7 gives me negative 63. 9 plus a negative, okay, plus a negative, that's gonna be a minus. So 9 minus 7 is 2. So bingo, it meets both conditions, the target product, target sum. I can multiply them and add them, and they will meet these two conditions. So these are the two numbers I will be using. Now, if my coefficient is, if my A, which in your homework, all the problems that you'll be asked to factor there will have a 1 or 1 as a leading coefficient or 1 as A. So x squared will always be, you could say, alone. Not really alone, there's a 1 there, so a 1. So when it's like that, these are, like I said, these are the basic ones. So I can go straight into my factoring. So remember, factoring, kind of like we're doing here, I'm factoring negative 63. So I'm getting two terms that multiply to give me this number. Same thing, only that instead of just looking at an integer, I'm gonna look at a whole quadratic equation and try to find two sets that multiply to give me this equation, okay? So it's kind of like reverse foiling. So if I were to FOIL this out, because I'm gonna have two terms here, I should get this equation, okay? So I can just go ahead and write x and x on both. These are my two numbers. I like to call them my the magic numbers. So I have a positive 9, so I'm gonna write plus 9 and a negative 7. Okay, and that's gonna equal 0. So all I did was reverse FOIL. So if I were to FOIL this out, I should get this equation. And you can check yourself. If it doesn't return to the original equation, then something went wrong, okay? So the key here is figuring your target product and target sum. And this would be factored, completely factored. So when we're factoring quadratics, you're gonna end up with two binomials multiplying to each other, right? Two binomials, which is two terms, multiplying to each other.